It's interesting. Jay-Z at one time, he was as popular as any hip hop artist had ever been in like the a period from I guess 2001 to 2003. And you could say perhaps Tupac was in the late 90s or it was at least getting there. Although I don't think I sometimes wonder if any hip hop artist after Jay-Z has been as popular and as much a household name. Kanye West is the closest thing, and even then, that's more to do with Kanye's extracurricular activities outside of music. Sometimes I'm not counting Eminem just for reasons. Kendrick Lamar maybe, I don't know about household name. Like, not everyone who owns a household, actually no one who owns a household is under the age of like 40, and people who are over the age of 40 typically don't know who Kendrick Lamar is. And then there's Drake. That's just he's just a pop star. Like that's not even a hip hop artist at this point, frankly. It's worth questioning. At what point is a hip hop artist just a pop music recording artist? Where's the line drawn? I don't know. Although there was no dispute that Jay-Z was still, a rapper, right? It's not like in the modern era where rapping just consists sometimes of simply just talking slowly and then all this garbage auto tune. It's horrible. Jay-Z was the last one of the. I mean, there's others. I guess obviously Kendrick is an example at least. Someone who actually raps and didn't fall into the bin of being just a trashy pop star essentially. What Jay-Z managed to keep his music within a certain ethos, whilst incorporating and becoming actually less of a pop star and more like a rock star, and in age when rock music just wasn't willing to deliver them anymore. To some degree, it feels as though in the world of music criticism and disgusting snobs, discussion about how interesting and cool an artist Jay-Z is or was has been replaced with talk about how interesting Kanye West's albums are. People distance themselves from Kanye West himself for one reason or another, perhaps decent reasons even. But I sometimes... Do people take for granted just how well-produced, interesting, captivating, and still incredibly impressive the Blueprint and especially the Black Album are? These are absolutely stellar releases, I think. I was a bit young for when these came out, but how amazing is it that you couldn't get more mainstream, perhaps, than Jay-Z in 2001 to 2003, and the mainstream was putting out albums this good? I mean, no wonder it was such a sensation. There's no questions. I think it may not help that Jay-Z, I don't know, I'm not in the United States, obviously, and so I'm not sure what his popularity has been like in his home country, although in Australia I don't think he's been as prominent or relevant insofar as hit singles are concerned since the early to mid-2000s. I mean, obviously some albums from the 2010s, namely Watch the Throne and I can't remember what it's called, the 2017 album, those were quite acclaimed by the critics. Of course. Although I don't know if he's had much of a presence as even, when Ye was released in 2018, it was, Triple J was, trying to, pretend that they were trying to find interesting things about it whilst also distancing themselves from him. Nothing good comes out of Triple J. Linda Mariano is one of the worst human beings alive in Australia sometimes. But, it's interesting how, I guess Jay-Z was seen as, old news, quote-unquote. I think people really like the idea of something... They love something when it's new, and then they like the idea of being able to, dismiss it when it's old. It's almost like they prefer to have an artist be great and then have a downfall period that you can mock them for, rather than an artist who's just great for the entirety of their recording output. It's weird how that works. I swear to God, I know people who it's almost I question whether they need to be institutionalized or not, because sometimes they can't because there's no institutions anymore. But it makes me question whether there ought to be for these types of people, because it's interesting because they'll talk about, oh yeah, I love this album. I'm like, oh yeah, what do you think of their work after that? And they're like, oh yeah, apparently it's really bad. And I was like, have you listened to it? How do you know? You kind of laugh at the fact that it's really bad. Shouldn't that be kind of a solemn thought rather than haha, let's bully? It's great because you can bully them for going bad. It's they just brought you a lot of joy on that initial album. I don't know why you're showing them such disrespect. It's no wonder they stopped making good music because you weren't willing to support them emotionally. It's fucked. Oh yeah, the early stuff's good, but yeah, then they went downhill. Ha ha ha. It's why is that funny? That sucks. You know, maybe they were going through a bad time. Maybe they decided to just, you know, they were trying to find the spark but felt a certain writer's block. That's not a good thought. That sadism is just weird to me. People would prefer artists to be great and then go downhill. They think it's more interesting or entertaining for them that way. It makes them feel better about themselves for being hacks. Really. I'm sick and tired of having conversations with people who are friends even. Who, like, they just, oh yeah, I haven't listened to anything after this period. Why? Like, you don't have to pay for any of it. Well, you don't know if it's, like, what's... How would you feel if you were putting out albums and people stopped listening to them after a certain point just out of, like, laziness and the idea that they like the idea of being able to mock you for, like, you're going downhill or something? Like, that's cooked. Don't get me wrong, there's only so much you can do with rock music or punk rock or whatever, even hip-hop. I get the boom bap, you know, I get that. But, you know, if an artist goes downhill, it's not a matter of, you know, isn't it great that we can mock the bad album? It's like, oh, you know, that sucks. You know, I wish... It might have been better if that album never happened, but, you know, it's weird how, like, it's like, yeah, it's weird, and you're weird if you're one of those people. You're really weird and need to be institutionalized. Like, I've known people who are just, like, it makes their day when they find out that there's this piece of media that has, like, a negative critical reception. It's weird. Like, you have a personality disorder. If this sounds like you, go to your GP. Oh my... Seriously. Because obviously you're more interested in having opinions than listening to music. And, like, that's... What's the logic in that? That's insane. And you've made me insane as a result. Thanks, guys. Look what you've done. But alas, what's done is done. It's a good album. Thank you for persevering this far. Do have the best possible day, night you have ever imagined. If you'd like to improve the possibilities of that being the case, turn off this video, listen to Jay-Z's The Black Album. It's pretty good. Thanks again, my friends. Appreciate it.